Trailblazers, welcome back to another episode 71. I'm non-ESL Trailblazer. Let's make something happen. Let's build that momentum. Burn to learn. These episodes, as you well know, are for lifelong learners out there, people who are trying to get their English to a fluent level, okay? Or teachers, you might find some of these episodes good ideas for you to build a lesson around, because these topics might be something that you can cover with your students, whether professional or younger in school. Okay, so the topic I want to explore today or examine a little bit in depth is the mass media, media culture, media bias. Okay, the mass media is influential on young people these days and has a major impact on society. And I thought, this is something that probably gets talked about a lot in class, especially with social media and the internet and how fake news is prominent and discussed all the time. So right there in my intro, I've used a bunch of language that I'm going to quickly review through this video, and hopefully the language will be something that you can use in a practical sense when you are out meeting people socially, going to parties, talking about this subject, or in class in an academic atmosphere. Okay, so I want to talk about two things first. The words that we can maybe use for describing uncertainty, when we're not certain or we're in doubt, okay, versus things that are truth or fact. Okay, so verbs like to question, to debate, to contest, to challenge, to dispute, and to disagree. I just hit you with a bunch there. Those are all verbs that we can use to describe uncertainty or when we're in doubt about some information. Okay, so when people are questioning some information or questioning a headline, they are having doubts about it. To debate something means that there's no concrete or right answer, that maybe there are different opinions and the subject is a bit messy, the topic is a bit messy and complex, okay? To contest means that there is a group of people from one side of the argument that are challenging, which is the next word, to contest, to challenge, what the facts or information another group might be sharing, whether it's in a political sphere or a social sphere regarding social issues, okay? A lot of times some topics are really hot, and that means people or groups or clubs are going to contest, challenge facts, information coming from other groups, okay? And then we have to dispute or to disagree. So to disagree, you not only need to cover it. To dispute, again, this is very closely linked to challenge or to contest. It means that you are arguing that what somebody else, another group of people are saying might not be completely accurate. All right, there is doubt there. Now on the other side of the spectrum, we got the the truth or facts. Okay, and here we state something. Okay, so like a reporting verb. If a politician, or again somebody prominent in the media, somebody well known or well regarded, an academic, states or cites or declares, we're usually referring to that information that they're giving as being truthful or factual because there is evidence and many people agree with that person or group with what they're saying, okay? A few other words that we can use, reported verbs mostly, are to assert or to argue, which I've already used a few times already in my speech, or to contend, okay? A lot of times when you're watching the news or you're reading journalist articles written online or newspapers, if you're still buying them, the writers are going to use this reported speech to be able to articulate to you whether the information that someone is expressing is factual or truthful, okay? So let me repeat those words really quickly because there's not that many. Somebody states or a group states. To cite is when in the academic context, you cite another paper, another journal, so what somebody else has said. To cite, yes, bibliography style. Declare, you're saying it as this is what's going to happen. And then again, to assert, to argue, or to contend. All right, so those are the words I wanted to cover with regards to certainty and truth and fact or having doubt. All right, let's move on to the next area where I want to talk about this media bias, which we're talking about a lot today in today's world, because this word comes up a lot when I do news topics, and my students are always asking me about it. Okay, so when you are biased, it means that you are showing some favoritism based on your past or your feelings towards the subject. You're showing favoritism with your opinion. Okay, so the example I like to use very often is that if you ask me where is the ideal location, place to go for your summer vacation, I'm always going to tell you that it's Greece, because I'm half Greek. I was born and raised there, and I believe, I assert that that's the best place for you to enjoy a summer holiday, okay? The Greek islands or the beaches in Greece, number one. However, obviously, I am biased because that's where I was born and raised. And others who maybe are less biased would say maybe a different European location, or maybe someplace else entirely outside of Europe, okay, that has also beautiful beaches, because obviously there's other places, all right? So that's biased, okay? Prejudiced. The preposition is against, okay? So prejudiced is when we're talking about racism, sexism, these kinds of things, but those are specific to race or sex, okay? But prejudice, you can say something like companies are prejudiced against taking on employees over the age of 40 or 50, okay? So that means they don't want to hire people above 40. Okay, they're prejudiced against them. So we can use prejudice to describe any kind of favoritism or feelings that a company, organization, club, country, political group might have towards some other group. Non-specific to just sex and race. It can be something else, okay, like age. All right, so that's prejudiced. Then I've already used the word influential with the mass media on young people, okay? But obviously people, prominent people, eminent people, high profile people, they can be influential to society. The people who are listening to them, their followers, people who are voting, etc. Okay, those are some other language connected with fame. Okay, other than just using famous people, because usually fame we use in the context of, you know, celebrities and, you know, Hollywood and TV and these kinds of things, okay? But obviously there's politicians who are prominent, and academics who are prominent means important and well known, all right? And eminent is a synonym to these, like respected within. So eminent writer, okay? Eminent politician, okay? Eminent journalist. All right, and then high profile, that can cover any context, not just celebrities, but somebody, again, that's making the headlines or is in the headlines. Now, just to clarify, okay, when you're making headlines, that's not necessarily good. It could also be negative, all right? So if you are making headlines, it could be for good or bad reasons. We don't know. It's not clear, but it means that, like, a lot of people are talking about you, and there's a lot, what's the right way to put it? There's a lot of talk, and newspapers or online websites are writing and talking about you because of something that you've done. All right, well, in the headlines, that means that right now you are famous and high profile. You're in the headlines right now, okay? Because, again, we don't know, something good or bad. I don't want to distinguish here between good or bad. Probably if you're in the headlines, I feel like I hear that expression used more in a negative context. And when you're making headlines, it's going to be more positive. It can be negative though, so it really depends. Just remember that one is more presently happening. Let's move on to a few more words. Subjective, okay? If you're judging something subjectively, it means you're not, your feelings, your emotions, your personal feelings and emotions are affecting the way you're judging something, okay? So judging art can be very subjective. All right, that's probably my best example I got there. Judges in certain competitions of sports can be very subjective. And that leads me to my final word, impartial. All right, so journalists need to be impartial, especially sports journalists. They need to be impartial to show that, like, you know, they're not favoring one specific team when they're writing about the sports events, matches, etc., right? Okay, they need to be impartial, means neutral. Okay, So that's all the language I have for you for media. There's a lot here, and I'm going to put it in the notes below, where you can also sign up for the Freshen Up Fridays newsletter if you want more bonus material, especially if you're a teacher, for lesson ideas and insights from my students that I get each and every week. That's a newsletter that comes out every 2 weeks now. All right. Thank you for following. Your viewership is greatly appreciated. I love making these, and I'm going to be back for some more. One more episode before the end of the school year, and then we're going to be taking a summer break before I return with more good stuff in the fall. So enjoy this one. Share it if you like it. Thank you very much. Please comment if you have any questions about the videos. And again, I'll see you next week for another episode. You have a great week. Be proud, teachers. Make something happen. I'll see you next week for another episode. Take care, everybody.